Hey there, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you are doing well. Well, we've been doing a little bit of traveling, that is through the housewives of, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We went yesterday, then we took a peek see over there at, I keep saying a peek at, a look-see at New York. And now we're heading to, Atlanta, of course, because there's so much going on in the Real Housewives sphere at this moment. And one is the continuing divorce saga. And now what has just been reported is the deportation of Simon Guobadia, Porsha's soon-to-be ex. Now, we all know, famously at this point, that Porsha and Simon have been pretty much going through their divorce probably over the better part of the last year. They were only married, I think, about 15 months. So that's a bit tragic situation on itself. But with that, at the same time, at the situation where Porsha decided to file for divorce, Simon then started having his deportation issues kicking off into play, which was obviously challenging his ability to stay here in the United States. And of course, we all know that he had been picked up for ICE, had probably been there for a couple of months or so. And now it has been reported that he has now been deported to his home country of Nigeria. So in this video, I want to go over a couple of things. One, we're going to kind of dive into the divorce situation, because one question that may be asked by many is what's going to happen next for the divorce proceedings, because they literally, Simon and Porsha were actually going through those proceedings. And there was a lot of back and forth as far as whatever the next hearing is going to look like, whether or not they're both going to be in person, which I believe is what Simon wanted. And Porsha was looking for that not to be the case because of whatever past accommodations were made and so forth and so on. So the first part of the sharing is going to cover that part of the divorce thing, which I would say was probably prior to the deportation, or yes, it was while he was in ICE, but before we just found out he just was sent back home to Nigeria. So we'll see where our head was at that time. And then we'll look at the actual deportation and see if we can get any information in regards to how that may make the divorce situation look, how that's going to look for them both. At this point, I would imagine he would just probably have to find a way to virtually be able to do the proceedings online. Obviously, during the time where the world had all shut down in 2000, you saw a lot of court cases continue on in that format. So I don't see how this would be any different in that type of situation, considering the fact that he has been deported and therefore doesn't have ability to legally come back into the country, at least not at this time. So let's go ahead and dive into both sharings to see what we can find out about the details that are being shared in both of those areas. So go ahead, sit back and relax. I definitely want to know your thoughts. So make sure you're leaving those respectfully in the comment section so I can see where you're thinking in regards to both of these sharings as well. So with that, we're going to start off with the divorce saga portion first. And that is coming to us by way of In Touch magazine. So let's go ahead and check out that sharing. It provides that Porsha Williams makes a plea to avoid appearing in person for divorce hearing where ex Simon may be present. Real Housewives of Atlanta star Porsha Williams pleaded with the judge for permission to attend her upcoming divorce hearing virtually, days after it was revealed her ex, Simon Guobadia, could be present in court. Now, again, this is right before we found out that he got deported. Now, In Touch can at that time exclusively report. Now, on Monday, May 19th, Porsha 43 had filed a motion obtained by In Touch asking for permission to appear via video at the hearing next month, which would have been this month in June. At the hearing, Porsha is set to make her case for why she believes their prenuptial agreement should be enforced. Now, Simon, 60, who has been in ICE detention since February 19th, which now has been subsequently sent back home, has opposed the prenup and accused Porsha of making misrepresentations during the negotiations. Now, as In Touch first reported, the court presiding over the divorce has postponed the hearing multiple times, most recently due to Simon being in detention. Simon's lawyers asked for the hearing to be pushed. She argued her client should be present at the hearing. Simon's lawyer also wrote that the motion to enforce the prenuptial agreement is a substantive motion that requires findings of fact by this court. The outcome of the motion will also have a substantial effect on how the remainder of the divorce case proceeds, as it may be dispositive of some of the issues and result in litigation in others. In this motion, Simon's attorney explained the ICE agency advised it would make arrangements for Simon to be taken to court for the divorce hearing once the court issued a production order. Now, the judge agreed to sign off on the production order, which will instruct ICE agents to bring Simon to court next month, which would have been this month in June. Now, a source close to Simon told In Touch that he remains in ICE custody, but is expected to be released in the next couple of weeks. It's unclear if he will be released before the hearing takes place. And I think at that point, it was unclear how he would be released. Would he be able to come back into regular society, or if he was going to be deported? Now we know what our answer is. Now, in her new filing, Porsha asked that she be allowed to appear and testify via video conference. Now, the reality star explained that she has a time-sensitive international employment opportunity that would require her to leave the country in the next 2 or 3 weeks for an extended period of time that would encompass the June 11, 2025 hearing, which just passed 2 days ago. Now, the RHOA cast member's lawyer had wrote, Porsha is a well-known reality television personality, a career in which last-minute travel and unexpected opportunities frequently arise. Now, Porsha shows that this employment opportunity would help Porsha offset the numerous financial obligations that Simon has failed to maintain under the temporary order, as well as to offset the significant legal expenses Porsha has already incurred in pursuing enforcement of the parties' prenuptial agreement and defending herself against Simon as it relates to the instant divorce action. Now, Porsha argued if she turned down the deal, aside from direct financial implications, it could also have the potential to jeopardize the longer-term viability and marketability of her brand and professional appeal. The reality star said she was ready to appear at the previous hearing, which was rescheduled due to Simon's situation. Her lawyer had noted Porsha shows that her request for virtual appearances is made in good faith and reflects a balancing of her professional obligations and the serious nature of these proceedings, not a desire to delay or further complicate the instant litigation. Now, Porsha pointed out the court has accommodated Simon's request due to his detention. As In Touch had first reported, Simon, if not for the alleged misrepresentations made by Porsha during the prenup negotiations, he would not have agreed to the prenup, which requires him to pay her a substantial financial obligation, which totals over hundreds of thousands of dollars, and which would require him to split the equity of his $7 million home. Now, Simon had noted he had purchased the home before the marriage, and that was quite a conflict of a situation. And I've done previous videos, obviously, on the platform as well, in discussing that. So definitely, if you want to brush up on that, definitely check those out. And judge has yet to rule on Porsha's motion. Now, I would assume that that same judge or whoever will be presiding over the portion of what's going on right now is going to be making a different decision now in light of the changes of the situation where Simon is no longer detained in ICE and has been reported to have been now deported to Nigeria. So at this point, it looks like Porsha, just by sheer coincidence, right, and circumstance at this point, is maybe getting what she wants. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into finding out the details that have just basically been shared with us, that Simon is no longer here in country and is now in Nigeria. So now this portion is being brought to us by way of Newsbreak and the Grape Juice. All right, so let's check it out, see what's going on here. According to the Grape Juice and Newsbreak, Porsha Williams' estranged husband, Simon Guobadia, deported to Nigeria after ICE release. Now, Porsha Williams' estranged husband, Simon Guobadia, has been deported back to his home country of Nigeria after months in ICE detention. Weekly confirms that Guobadia was released from custody about 2 days. So right around the time, I think, or just really shy, just a couple of days or so from their scheduled hearing, he was immediately transported back on the first flight. Guobadia was thrust into the spotlight following his whirlwind marriage and equally swift, contentious divorce from Williams, who is an anchoring star on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. He was detained in March, which actually the last hearing said February, of this year by U.S. Homeland Security in relation to his right to stay in the United States or lack thereof. Now, Guobadia was first deported from America in 1992, but returned and was granted permanent residency status the same year when he used an undisclosed identity. And what does that mean? In the years that followed, the 61-year-old attempted to gain citizenship, but was unsuccessful in each attempt. His recent detainment was part of the government's mass deportation initiative. It's claimed that he reportedly overstayed his visa. There's no word yet on how this latest development impacts the divorce proceedings between Guobadia and Williams, because as I shared earlier, I mean, it literally truly is breaking right now. And it is going to be interesting to see how this all shakes up for her. I personally just think that, they'll have to figure out a way for him to actually appear virtually. But now the question is he going to, right? Is he going to stall? Are they going to be able to find him? What kind of legal authority does the United States now have to make him actually go to the proceedings from Nigeria? Now, is it possible that she just may get the divorce in absentia of him? That's quite possible. But there's going to be, rigor attached to that as well. Obviously there's probably going to be, because we're already past 2 days past the original date that's scheduled for the divorce proceeding. That will have to be adjusted, which now it's probably going to be even easier since she's out and about anyways doing work, right? That being Porsha, and Simon's not here anyway. And then I guess they'll work it out. I mean, I would say it's in his best interest, obviously, to just go ahead and move forward with the divorce. I don't see any true love lost there or anything that's going to change this trajectory that is what the situation is, because I believe now with this deportation happening, which would now be a second time is what they're kind of reporting, it's going to be a lot harder, if at all even, feasible or a situation that he'll be able to come back. So at this point, might as well just go ahead and call that a wash. But I do know that Simon does have children, and I believe his children are here, so that's really sad. If that is the case, I think he had like 4 kids or so, maybe. If you know for sure, feel free to share that down below. But that would be very heartbreaking, just to be split away from his children, and for the children to not have their father with them every day. We know that famously with the situation with Teresa Guiducci and her children, with Joe, who we know very well, who actually was a cast member, I would say a prime cast member, one of the prime ones for many years on Real Housewives of New Jersey. And after he did a stint in prison, he also too then subsequently was deported and is no longer living here in the country but living abroad. So the separation there in that situation has got to be very, very difficult. I'm sure it was very difficult in the beginning, and it's just challenging not to be able to have your parent there all the time. So, and you never stop needing your parents, I don't think. I mean, obviously you change into different situations and statuses with your parents, but you always do need them, and to have them close by is always better than not. So yeah, it's a lot of ups and downs in this situation at this point. I guess they're going to have to decide what is going to work, and really just how much pull the United States has now that he is no longer here, to continue with expecting him to be in court to do certain things. Now again, if she does have a situation where it's a divorce granted in absentia of him, well, if part of that is to receive monies and this, that, and the other, how does that work? Again, if you don't have the authority and he doesn't choose to willingly go through the process, how can you make him and force him to do whatever it is that is being presented, even in the prenup, which he is contesting at this point? So lots and lots of clouded areas in this situation. And I'm pretty sure it's, Porsha fully aware of just how, tenuous her situation is at this point. And so definitely her getting her work on and doing what she can and making as many appearances and doing as many jobs as she possibly can in the entertainment world, which is what she is in, is what she's going to do. Now she's also entrepreneur. She's got her Neck and Go hair, I think, and then something else that she's also working on that I think has been revealed somewhere in the current season that we're in right now that I cannot, it's a miss right now. But she's been hustling and doing what she needs to do for her and her daughter Pilar. Of course, her father of her child, Dennis, he is here, with them in Atlanta area. So, that's good for the family and tax situation. But as far as the monetary value of things and how to close out the situation, what about the house, right? The $7 million house, what happens there, right? Is it, if he has now been deported, what type of ownership does he really truly have here, of anything? Even though he did, I guess, buy the house outright and before they got married, how is that going to work? Is that just something that's just going to be seized now by the government? All these things. But if you are familiar with any of those types of things, definitely share down below. What do you think is going to happen to the house? So lots of up and down at this point, but as reported, it looks like Simon is no longer in the United States and it has been deported, and the divorce is still kind of up in the air as far as the proceeding portion of it. Not so much the action of the divorce, but the proceedings and getting things close to a thing. And is this going to be something that Porsha simply will just have to walk away from, regardless of what was presented initially for her safety net, if you will, or if he's going to actually honor the situation to at least participate in the divorce and get to a settlement? And I would really be curious to know what kind of control that they can have on him to ensure that takes place from his perspective. So with that, I think that about do it for this video. I would definitely love to know your thoughts on this. Anything in regards to either one of these parts on the video, definitely share those down below, respectfully, in the comment section. I would like to know, what you're thinking about this, and just, any thoughts that you have associated with them is fine. And even some of the questions that I just asked, if you have anything that you want to share in regards to that, I'd definitely love to know your perspective on that as well. And so with that, I think I'm going to bid you adieu, but I'm going to have 2 more videos popping up today. One is going to be dropping in a few hours. So definitely make sure you have your all notification bells on if you have not already done so you don't miss them. Because I definitely want to know your thoughts. Yes, because we're going to be doing a bit of an update. And then we're going to be doing, I think, another look-see in another area, but still going back to Atlanta. So yeah, definitely want to make sure you get your thoughts and comments on those videos as well. And if you are new here, welcome, welcome. So glad that you're here. Definitely make sure you hit the subscribe button, be part of the family. I would still love to have you. And for all of you that are already part of the family, you know what it is. Thank you so much for your continued viewing and listening support. I so do appreciate it. And so with that, I'm going to bug out of here, but I will be seeing you in a few hours. So definitely make sure you come on back. Until then, bye.